Well, perfect. It's 31 past the hour, and we're going to kick things off. First, let me officially welcome everybody to episode 6 for this year of Gulfstream Legal's Poolside Chat webinar. Our little educational sessions that we do in 30-minute blocks where I get joined by a special guest host, and we talk about a topic that's really important to us. Today, we're going to be talking about how do we improve workflows using some of the tools and different methodologies that we have and our partners have to increase eDiscovery productivity without losing sleep at night. Something I know has been an issue for many of us, and so we're going to dive right in. Let me start by introducing my friend and my guest today, Matt from Oasis Discovery. Say hello to everybody, Matt.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Ari. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, my friend. I'm doing great. Why don't we kick things off by I will let you introduce yourself since you can do it even better than I can. I can even after all the years that we've known each other now.
Yeah, sure thing. No problem. So, I'm a solutions consultant at Oasis. I do a lot of technical account management as well. Generally, my day-to-day involves like client consultations, onboarding of new partners, technical account management, and as well as like pricing and stuff like that for a lot of the tools and applications that we have. So, I've been in the e-discovery industry going on 18, 19 years, getting close to that 20-year mark. Worked at a number of different service providers in the past, on the software side as well for some software companies out there, before coming over to Oasis and focusing on infrastructure and custom private clouds.
Well, awesome. Well, so I know in your 18 years, even prior to Oasis, you have to have seen a ton of different workflows you used in eDiscovery over the years. Have things have evolved? What worked? What didn't work? As I jokingly say, I've had a few, that didn't go as well as planned, and some that are even more stellar over the time. So before we talk about things that work, I'm going to ask you kind of a surprise question.
Okay.
Is there a workflow from your 18 years of history that you can share with our team that you remember? I don't want to call it an epic fail, but that was one of those that you were like, this was a great idea. And then as you went through it, you were like, oh God, why did I open my mouth?
Well, definitely, there's definitely been some tools that I've utilized, tools that I've purchased in the past. There's some ECA processing tools. There's one that I can think of. I'm not going to call them out and put them right on the spot, but the error handling was poor, the workflow was poor, and the support from the from the software side was poor. We had invested quite a bit of money on it. It demoed well. It worked well on small sets, but when it was getting into those big chunks of data, it was having major issues. So I'm not going to put the software company on the spot because they're still out there. But
Well,
there's definitely been a couple times I've been burned by having an agreement on some software that didn't end up working the way that it was supposed to.
that's fair. I can admit I've had a few software choices that were not my best moment either. So let's dive right into our top topics today, why everybody is joining us. So starting with number one, strategies to simplify the workflow of handling documents in eDiscovery. So I know that we've come up with a lot of way, and probably one of our most number one used is different workflows around searching, filtering documents, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But when it comes to mind for me is eDiscovery and priv screens, another way that we can find things like PII. PII and data these days seems to be a big hang up, big issue. We've got solutions for how to automatically redact it, but still the identification of those PII documents so that you can build that into your review, whether it's review workflow or ECA workflow, has always been a challenge. I know that you guys over at Oasis have actually built a little tool that worked directly in relativity that makes this a lot easier. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how else this can simplify the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is called Oasis Patterns and Reg Extract. You as you mentioned, we all know dealing with PII and PHI is becoming more and more of a requirement across the industry. The information needs to be collected, identified, redacted, or obfuscated prior to the productions. And so, we wanted to build a tool to assist with these processes. So we came up with something called Oasis Patterns. It's an application you can quickly and easily add to a Relativity workspace. It really works based on regular expression patterns. We have a number of canned patterns that we can add to the workspace automatically through a script. But then what it does is it goes and it extracts all that PII or PHI information into a new object and field inside of the Relativity database. So it gives the users the ability to report on that PII, what is contained in it, and then, like you said, in conjunction with like tools like blackout or manual redactions, you can pull those out. But this tool also gives you the ability to do like a search and replace on any identified matches with replacement text inside the workspace as well.
Interesting. So as compared to, I know we've got some tools out there that we've used in the past together that just identifies the documents that have potential PII and PHI. So your tool actually pulls that potentially identified information and logs it so people can see and reuse that information as compared to just going, hey, this document has this as well.
Yeah, that's right. So, some of the canned patterns we have include like tax forms, birthdays, phone numbers, bank cards, social security, credit card, etc. And it would actually pull that information, the actual values, into a separate object, into a separate field inside of Relativity.
Awesome. Well, I could see how that could save a lot of time. So, I mean, and you've mentioned already a couple of things that interest me, tax forms, things that are kind of out of the norm. If somebody comes across and has a custom item for you, let's say they've got a regular document that's in there that they're good for the sake of argument, they call tickets. Could they give you a pattern to help identify that? Will you work with this client to identify it?
Absolutely.
Very
Yep. So
interesting. Okay.
custom patterns are also supported, and that's a major feature that we have. So we do have a number of canned patterns that you can just use right out of the box. But if you have any custom items that you need, those 100% can be added as additional patterns within the application.
Awesome. So now switching kind of into our next topic, and before we go on to our next piece totally, which is time and money. How can we save time and money? Talking about this tool, is there any cost for people to use this when they're already hosting with us or you?
Nope, there's no additional charges to use Oasis patterns and our Registrack features. They're very easy. Users can add them to the workspace themselves as long as they have, proper permissions inside of Relativity. But add it to the workspace. There may be a small, minor footprint on your hosted size for, extracting the extra fields out and stuff like that. But otherwise, there's no per doc charges or per gigabyte charges or application charges or anything along those lines. It's included with your hosting.
Nice. So on top of saving time, you're also giving somebody a value added service at, I hate to say no cost, but it's a nice included feature.
That's right.
Perfect. Well, let's kind of gather right into there. So, as we're starting to talk about ways to save time, obviously people want to also find ways to save money as well. So, what have you found is a nice workflow that helps people save money on top of time when working in either Relativity or other tools, to help speed up their eDiscovery process?
Yeah, so along the similar lines, as we were developing like the Registrack tool, our dev team decided to do another tool that they want that we recently rolled out. It's called Tag Sync, and a lot of times what we'll see is we have corporate clients or our partners have corporate clients, and they'll have the same documents over and over across various different workspaces, or they'll be using like a primary repository workspace and have secondary workspace for the various matters that they're pushing data to either through Relativity integration points or simple imports and exports. But a lot of times these workspaces, especially for, like I said, for our corporate clients, will have the same documents in multiple workspaces or across matters. So we did develop another tool called Tag Sync. And what Tag Sync allows you to do is take any tags or any work product that you have that exists in one workspace and apply those across different workspaces when the documents match. So you're syncing your work product across matters. It helps you maintain consistency in coding across various different relativity workspaces when those documents are the same in the various workspaces. So this can definitely save money. It's really good for things like privilege. If you have a corporate client, they have the same documents that exist in multiple workspaces across multiple matters. They tag one workspace with their privilege, and then those privilege documents exist in other places. You can easily sync up that privilege designation across the workspaces without having to have eyes on all those documents right off the bat.
Interesting. So you mentioned something else as you were talking about this tag sync, which is a master database repository. So how do people use that master database repository to help let's call it unburden the workload that eDiscovery puts on some people?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have had a number of partners who use like a master repository for a case. And then sometimes there'll be different parties that are involved and they don't want to share a workspace, even though Relativity does support, possibly sharing workspaces and having it all secure. We had one that was not too long ago where there was, 10 different parties. They all wanted their own individual workspaces. But what we were doing is we were using that master repository to share out using Relativity integration points, different sets of documents to the different parties. They all came from that one master repository. And then what we did was we had them only hosting in one location. So these documents were all being pulled when they were doing the imports from the same location. So we were actually saving them money by only hosting those documents once, and in the other the workspaces that we're pulling from, we're pointing to the original documents, and we're only charging them for the single hosting of those documents.
Interesting. I mean, going down that road, because I know this would be a common question. So if you had, sake of argument, 10 parties all pulling information from this master repository, even though you're only hosting one copy, can you still allocate the individual sizes per each party, or is it only available, I know what's the size of the master database itself?
Yeah, we could definitely pull that because those native files are still linked up, so you can definitely get those sizes for each of the individual workspaces.
Awesome. Well, perfect. So, as we've mentioned a couple of tools already that can kind of ease the burden, save time and money. Let's kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about something that maybe an unused feature that people don't do as well. Can you suggest something that either most tools would have, or a tool that we have already available, something that people don't utilize already that will help save time and money as well?
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I see a lot of times people are doing is we have a lot of clients that are running Relativity web processing in our environment, right? It's a very easy tool to use. It's simple. You point to your data, or you create your set, point to your data, kick off your discovery, and it does the processing. It loads it all into the workspace all at once. So you don't really have to have like third-party processing tools outside of the application with exports and then imports and files on disk and then copies in Relativity. So we do have a lot of our partners that are using Relativity web processing. But one feature that I don't see a ton of them utilizing is the inventory filtering option. I know Gulfstream is using that quite a bit. You guys inventory a lot of your data, run your filters ahead of time. But a lot of times I see other people that are doing the discovery and then using like STRs and searches to filter down their data after the fact, where like date filters and those things can all be applied ahead of time, so you have a lighter footprint when when that data is loaded into the workspace or published into the workspace.
Interesting. Do you by chance have an example that you can show everybody? I hate to call it a demo, but I'm sure something like that would be very interesting to people for how they can pre-filter data before it's even available to them.
Yeah, sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Are you able to see my Relativity environment?
I can.
Righty. So I have a case here. This is the case that I use for all my, demos and trainings and things along that nature. This is our Oasis Discovery internal investigation case. And if you're familiar with Relativity Web Processing, you can see here that there's a tab for processing that's built right into the workspace. Again, this is so you don't have to use any third-party applications, other tools, exports and imports outside. You can do it right from Relativity. So we come in and I have tons of processing sets in here, but I have one that I kicked off inventory on. It's very easy to get to this stage. Basically, you create a new processing set. You give it a set name, very similar to any other sets inside of Relativity, like an OCR set or a production set. And then really you point to your data, and it's a one button click where you hit inventory. And what it's going through is going through and identifying your top level items, how many emails you got, what their dates are, those sorts of things. And then you can quickly filter those ahead of time. So I'm going to pop into the set that I inventoried already. And the button that I was talking about a moment ago was just this. So this was the first thing that I kicked off, was this inventory option. I could have just gone into Discovery if I want to load everything into the workspace, if I didn't want to do any of this pre-processing filtering. I could have just kicked it into Discovery. Everything would be loaded in my workspace, but I chose to do inventory. That way I can filter it down ahead of time.
Perfect.
So you can see we started with, close to 19,000 items here. We're going to go ahead and start applying some quick, simple filters. So the first thing you see when you go into the inventory filters, you can see a date range for all of our documents. It looks like we have some really old stuff. In the set, I processed I inventoried some PST files. It's likely some of the newer stuff. And then I had a bunch of old files out on disk. I processed a loose folder as well. So that may be some of the older files, possibly scans from back in the day and whatnot. So I could either quickly choose to use a slider to set my filter. If I want to have everything from January 2006 and forward, I could set that here. Maybe January 2006 to December 2007. That's the range we're looking for. I can set my slider, hit apply. Otherwise, I can choose to enter dates with a box here by entering, a month and year. If I wanted to, I could switch that to day, month, and year, or just the year if you have just years that you're filtering by. So that's really up to you. But once I have the range that I'm looking for, I can go ahead and hit apply here. And you can quickly see we started with 19,000 documents. It came over, there was not really any NIST matches in here. So even though we applied a denisting filter when we were inventorying, nothing really got removed. We applied our new date filter here, and we're down to 13,000 documents here.
Perfect. So, and even before you do anything else, so this is available anytime you're using relativity processing, and we haven't fully processed the data. We didn't take a lot of time. This is just a basic index of all of your documents that you're able to add these filters to which I'm going to assume then it's going to save you time and money on processing. But then again, I like this dashboard. I'm sure other people would as well, because without waiting for a full processing set to be complete, you're already starting to get some key information, such as what is the range of dates that I have across all of my documents. Is there any other any other filters that we can apply to this data set?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of different filters in here. We'll take a look at a few of them. We can filter by file size. So if we want to get rid of, 0 KB files or extremely large files, those sorts of things, we could choose to do that. We also have file types here. So if we wanted to come in, as I said, I processed or I inventoried a number of PSTs as well as some loose files that we had out on disk. If I was just interested in the email files, I could come over here, remove everything. And just bring my MSGs back over. Let's say I just wanted my MSGs and my EML files. We're just looking at email files here. So we didn't want to look at all these files that we had out on disk maybe. I could go ahead and apply this. And you can see we lost, roughly another 1,000 documents here. So we culled out another 1,000 documents.
Interesting.
Other filters include locations. These are some of the locations that we have left, just the PST and the EML locations that we have, because I cleared out all the loose files that we had on disk. Otherwise, you'd see all those paths there. And then we have our sender domains. So if you want to get a really quick look, and as you had mentioned, inventory is a really fast process. It's not breaking files out to disk. It's not gathering all of the metadata. It's not doing all those things in discovery that do take time. So if you want to get a quick look at your sender domains, you can come run inventory. It's a very fast process and get an idea of what those sender domains are. If I want to exclude, let's choose to exclude maybe some AOLs. What else do we have here? MSN, Yahoo. Get rid of a few. And we can go ahead and apply that. And it's roughly taking us down. We're still in the 12K range here, but you can see the percentage of documents that we have left has gone down, another couple of percent here. So once we're satisfied with the filtering that we've done, we can kick off discovery here, and then it's only going to be discovering these 12,000 documents. We started with 19, nothing really denested out. We applied our date range, we selected our file types that we want, and some sender domains to exclude, and we can go ahead and kick this off in discovery. It's going to send that in, it's going to break the files out to disk, it's going to do your standard processing and load those, publish those directly into the workspace so that they're in your documents view.
Awesome. It seems like a very, very simple thing to add to a workflow right away. On top of the fact that if you use that functionality, it sounds and looks like you can also report on some information very quickly without having to go through the full time and effort of moving something to a live database.
Exactly. Here, for instance, you can see our inventory summary report here, which starts breaking down that information for you as well.
Okay, so there is full reporting that can be provided from here, even though you haven't discovered. You've just started to apply filters to this data.
File count, size in gigabytes, etc. Yep.
Perfect. Well, Matt, these three things alone can, it sounds like, save a lot of time and money for anybody trying to do it. I've got one more that I want to mention while we have some time that we can discuss. But before I do, I wanted to ask kind of our audience that's out there, does anybody have any challenges in eDiscovery that they're looking for a workflow, or anything in particular that you've heard so far that you have a question on? Please feel free to type into the chat. And while you do, Matt and I are going to talk about one more thing. So we've talked about some tools that kind of are used in the middle of an eDiscovery workflow. The tool that you just showed here is used at the beginning. I want to bring up one that's used more towards the end, which is the tool called Chronicle. I've talked about it before with previous hosts, and it's, for those that don't know, Chronicle is it's predominantly meant to be a Privlog tool. And the reason I love Chronicle is it's built directly into your review workspace. But the reason it saves you time and money is it gives you certain automated workflows to gather information that you would otherwise be gathering in a privilege log. Rather than having it be a manual effort, it's an automated effort, but it also gives you a shared environment rather than exporting something to Excel, fixing up that Excel, sending the Excel, from paralegal to partner, associate, back and forth, trying to create a shared resource maybe on your network. You have a single interface, the same place as where you reviewed your documents, to deal with your Privlog. I will say there's been a lot of times people have come to me just for that one tool, that it saved a ton of time, and it's a simple workflow so that once they've identified their privileged documents, without moving them anywhere, without taking it anywhere, either the paralegal, the associate, or the partner on the matter was able to very simply create that Privlog all within the integrated review workspace itself. Have you had any experience with Chronicle, or any of your clients used it on a recent matter?
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, Privlogs can be one of the biggest headaches out there. So, we did partner and get Chronicle in our suite of technology. We're really happy to offer that. We've had tremendous success lately with a number of partners using Chronicle, alleviating those headaches, and getting that Privlog done in a quick and easy way. Very seamless application. So, I love Chronicle. It demos well, it looks nice, and it alleviates headaches for, anybody that's ever done a Privlog before knows what kind of headache that can be. So it's definitely one of the tools that we've been working with more, and we've been seeing a lot more adoption of.
Well, awesome. Well, we've got 4 minutes left here. Let me start by saying, Matt, thank you so much for joining me today for the webinar. I know I found it invaluable because I've never seen myself the first two tools that you were talking about, and now I'm very curious because a lot of the matters that I work on and project manage, my clients deal with a lot of PII and PHI. So being able to identify that information, pull it out, and then have it prepared for either review or automatic redaction is going to be critical. It's going to be a suggestion I'm going to start using right away, and of course, I'm going to start also bringing up the idea of filtering before we even process as a quick reporting idea and as a quick way to filter down some of our documents before we go. So let me say thank you so much for joining me today in this webinar to talk about some ways we can save time and money and simplify the eDiscovery process.
No, thank you very much, Ari. It's always a pleasure talking with you. Working with Gulfstream, you guys are amazing and do great stuff. So we love the partnership here at Oasis, and it's cheers to many years to come.
For sure. Well, my friend, we will talk soon again. And to everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either Matt or myself via the link, and we will be glad to help you with any eDiscovery needs in the future. As a special preview, in 1 month, I have 2 very special guests that are joining me from Washington, D.C. for my Poolside Chat number 7, live from Ilticon 2022. So I hope to see everybody, and hopefully I get to see some of you there at Ilticon 2022 in just a few weeks. Matt, again, thank you. Stay cool and enjoy the warmer weather right now that we're both enjoying.
Take care,
Cheers, my
Ari. Thank
friend.
you.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.